filmmaker.
No. Man, he's one of those.
I make art, bro.
He's an artist.
All right.
Art.
You ready?
Art,
Yeah,
art,
Speedy.
art, 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 art. Fucking art. Art. Sorry.
Welcome, everybody.
Let him get
No,
it.
let's do a clean one.
off.
That's just my vocal practice for my vocal coach.
Otherwise, we'll never hear the end of it, Adam.
All right, let me get my... I'm good.
I feel like there's a little left in you.
No, I'm good. I'm fine.
In the streets of the concrete jungle, where the rhymes flow like the rivers rumble, we step up, keeping it real. In this filmmaking renaissance, T and Adam on the mic, no filter, no fake, taking you back to the golden age. We drop knowledge like a podcast in motion, soak it in as we paint this light lyrical devotion.
Welcome, everybody, to Yesterday on Set. I'm your host, Adam Taylor, with my co-host, T. Lamb. And today we are actually joined by two guests, Rob Nielsen, director, DP, and Eddie Rodriguez, a Houston-based filmmaker. Welcome to the show.
Hello, how are you guys doing?
Yeah,
I'm going to
good to
talk
be
with my
here.
NPR voice for this evening.
All right. So, Rob, you're based here in Houston. You're a director, DP. What kind of normal work do you do?
The kind that gives you money.
So, corporate propaganda?
Various kinds of corporate propaganda and commercials and ways to sell you things that you probably don't need. So, yeah.
And so, Eddie, you're based here in Houston.
Yep,
So, what kind of work do you do?
very much the same. You name it, I've done it, and in one capacity or one element of media, whether it's commercial or corporate or entertainment or live or you name it. I feel like I've dipped my toe in all of that at one time or another.
So, when you say filmmaker, you basically just trade your body for money. Your youth.
In more ways than you can imagine. There's a spiritual and psychological element that I can't even put into value that I probably gave away many years ago.
So, what all capacity of departments have you worked in?
I guess initially when I first started working in television,
Started on
This is-
3/4 videotape.
I was stage managing, and then when I started doing independent films, I ended up doing a little bit of AD work, and then I got into producing, so it's been a little bit all over the place. But in those journeys, and also just fighting to make a living from commercial to commercial or television show to television show, I've also done a pretty wide variety in every department. You name it at one time, especially when I was younger and PA, and there wasn't a department that I don't think I was put to work in.
Do you have a favorite department?
My favorite department is when I am not in the department, but I am the artist. When I get to be the artist and I know what to plug in or who to get in touch with to see that art come together, whatever you call it, that's my favorite position. And right now, I don't consider that an official position. As pretentious as that might sound, that's kind of where I'm at right now. When I get to do that,
That position sounds unpaid, by the way. Just
it is. There's no money in this.
My favorite department is crafty.
That's right. We usually have to find crafty and pay out of our own pockets when we're that artist. So, but yeah, I know that's a really crazy way of answering this. I'm really fucking up your podcast here.
So we want to talk tonight about a really cool project that we got to work on with y'all called The Word.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit more about that background of it. You said that you had the script. Tell us a little bit more. Where did you get this from?
So first we should tell them what the word is. I guess the word is a way to set a pile of money on fire. It's also about 9 minutes long. And this is a script that is so old, I had to remove George W. Bush references from it. So I think it was written like around 2009. And I ran out of ideas and finally decided to make it. One of my old friends that we made a $10,000 road movie with forever ago, 2008 we shot, it came out like 2010 or 11. His brother is a writer and sent me just a dispatch of short stories and jokes and scripts. And then I've kind of had the short story. I thought it was really funny. I was like, oh, I'm going to make this screenplay. And this is probably 2009 maybe. So I made the screenplay, and everyone thought it was really funny, but no one wanted to make it. They're like, I can't make this. In case, obviously, the listeners don't
Why?
know. We just finished watching the rough cut, which I know we shot like 2 weeks ago, something like that. So we're like really quickly trying to turn out to make festival deadlines. I must preface this by saying that I'm fucking sick of this movie. So let's talk about it more. So the premise of this movie is the billionaires decide that they want to give African Americans reparations, but there is a small catch. And that catch is they want to be able to do the one thing that they're not able to do, and that's openly say the N-word. So this is a perfect movie for a white boy to make. Luckily, I do speak for all white people. I want to put this out now. I speak for all white people for the rest of this podcast. I'm the guy.
As the AD on the set, I would also like to point out that no white people were actually hurt in the making of this. Even if it suggested that happened, there was no violence. I just want to get that out there. I don't want anybody to think I run up.
There might be only violence behind the scenes.
That's right.
We are going to submit to various film festivals a day from now in a rough cut form. So good fucking luck with that. Yeah. Thanks for playing, guys.
Yeah. So my question is, normally I've seen a lot of filmmakers talk about the project, and the last question is, how much did you spend?
I don't want to say the number, because if my wife ever listens to this, I'm going to get in fucking trouble, because it would have been a really nice vacation. So next time I'm going to just take that money and go on vacation.
I feel like it'd been 4 vacations.
It would have been probably 3 vacations at the very least. So yeah, that said, we literally set a fucking pile of money on fire for a fucking joke. I'm pretty dumb. So
you're not alone. We've all said them. What we do is set money on fire to tell jokes.
Oh yeah, we threw out a $700 table because it was easier at the end of shooting.
How very corporate of you.
Yes, yeah. I actually think it's kind of poetic in a way, because to finance this movie, we've applied for grants and stuff that we will not get, probably due to the nature of the project. But I think it's poetic that I took money that was made from large corporations that I will not name because I want to continue to get their money. But I took their money to make this thing that's basically shitting on billionaires and rich people. And I feel like that's kind of poetic. What a great way to set money on fire.
It's the reason we get up in the morning. We make these sacrifices so we can make fun of the things that pay us to make fun of them. And one day as we pass away in our beds, dying of poverty, we take that with us as a certain sense of satisfaction.
You should speak for yourself. I'm never dying.
I don't want to die of poverty.
Yeah.
I'm not dying at all.
Yeah, no.
I'm hoping by the time this shit, a couple more years, we'll live forever. So when you got the idea, why did you want to do this film over any other project?
Because every other project that I had was much more involved in what it means setting a larger pile of money on fire.
No.
And part of this, it's fucking expensive to make films. And literally, we had a small crew. But even with a small crew, with some people, such as all of y'all that are in this room, like working for trade, it's still fucking expensive. We got a lot of people that were working for half their normal rate just to do a fun thing. It's one of those things where if you want good work, you have to be able to respect people and their time and pay them. But shit adds up so quickly. And it's just, oh my God, it would have been amazing. We really could have used more time on set, but I wanted to make sure that we weren't working 18-hour days every day.
So we've done this a couple of times together, Rob, and I don't know that when people hear this for the first time, sometimes they're a little shocked that this is even a possibility. But because you're an owner-op, you own camera packages, you own lenses, and then I have lighting packages. When we need to shoot things that are not necessarily, they're indie films, a lot of guys want to make their own indie films. And you can offer them a full day rate or equivalent in a trade package. And a lot of times they'll take the trade package if you have something to offer that's worthwhile for them, because for them,
that's money in the bank right there.
100%.
I mean, it's a cash equivalent for when you're talking about indie stuff, I feel.
Sure.
No,
and it's kind of a nice break from working. You say you work on some dumb commercial and you're shooting generic kitchen scenes for a couple days. And it's like a nice break where maybe you're going to work a little harder, you're going to sweat more, but you're also going to have more fun. And then we have rap beers. So,
well, and preceding all of this, these are all jobs that we tend to look out for each other anyway. So professionally, at least in the entire time I've worked, the majority of the work has come from the relationships that you establish with other people on other sets.
Sure.
And you begin to know who you like to work with, who likes to work with you, and before you know it, that's how you get the phone call. And before you know it, the sets become a little bit more familiar. You begin to trust those people because you've had that history. So when you do fight for the crazy opportunity to burn a pile of money, they become
we can do it more efficiently.
That's right. We know that's the idea. We know who that's going to be fun with too.
Sure.
You know,
and we should also preface. So on this movie, T. Lamb worked as camera operator. Adam, you were executive producer, and Eddie was the AD and also associate producer.
Okay.
And it was my movie. That's why I'm here talking about it.
It was Rob's vision.
Thanks for making this. clear.
We'll figure that part out.
Rob was the one that made the phone call to all of us and said, I'm ready to burn a pile of money. And we had to ask, well, when do you want to do that? Let's make sure we can all make that happen.
Yeah. And you know what? I think it actually might have been better if we just literally set a pile of cash on fire because it would have been over way quicker.
It's still going.
and then we could have
It's
had
not
Raptor
over.
more
It's not even
quickly.
close to being over.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, the other day I was reading a post online and somebody was like, they spent 30. Somebody posted about a $35,000 short, and people were like, you could make a feature for that, and they were just going on.
A bad
I was just
one.
like-
Oh, I remember that.
And I was like,
Yeah.
what are y'all talking about?
I mean, you can
Like-
make a feature for that if it's two people talking in a room. Like short features now, some of them are done for 10 days on Tubi, which is like really, if you have location changes in 10 days, holy shit. And like figure a normal low budget movie is maybe like 18 days. You know what I mean? And divide 36 by 18, it doesn't give you much per day.
No,
Like,
that
you
isn't.
can-
Well, but I also think we have to put a caveat to that, right? Because every story is unique, every story is different, and the end goals are different as well. If you just have this burning hole in your soul that like I have to get this story out, then great. I think with the democratization of filmmaking, you can make this for very little money. But I would argue that I kind of want to make a living out of this too. I don't think that's sustainable doing this for $0, right? And then at the end of the day, it's just, is it good? Well, I guess good is subjective, but if you want to have some sort of metric, is it good enough to be recognized, to be distributed, to be sold, to be shared? That's the other thing. So yeah, you're right. That person that you were talking about on Facebook, because I remember that post. Yeah, you can make it for $0. I mean, we have our phones.
Yeah.
Right? You can make it. This could be a feature film right now. Just have my phone up and we could be talking for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Right?
When I made a road movie for $10,000 years ago with my friends, we literally, the only way we were able to afford it was we had a crew of 3. One of the actors wrote the movie and worked as crew. And then we had one day where we had a few grips and stuff. So it made our credits look like it was a legitimate movie. It's, hey, look, there was a crew where it's like, oh no, it was me, the director, and the producer. And the producer was doing sound. And yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think for the last couple of years, I've been changing the way I look at filmmaking as a whole because it's about the sellability of it and the talent. There's so many filmmakers that are tech nerds, and I'm one of them. I mean, we like gear, we like the GAC, we like all the shit, but you only see what's in front of the camera, not what's behind the camera. So, well, while we want to shoot on good cameras and lenses, sometimes I kind of feel like we waste money. Instead of spending an extra $800 a day on talent and getting better talent, we spend money on
Or
gear,
production
like-
design.
or art, anything that goes in front of the lens, locations especially. I just had a guy approach me about a feature that he asked me to budget out, and it was like 80% of the money was on crew, and I was like, this is wrong. You need to put 80% of the money in front of the screen.
Hey, how much was on talent? Like,
They were wanting to hire locals at $300 a day.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, you're gonna have a crappy movie that nobody's gonna buy.
no disrespect to like local actors because there are a few good ones, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't mean to sound like an
You
asshole.
want to have a choice. You're casting a movie. There's a finite amount of actors in Houston, and some types that you're looking for aren't readily available, and you got to travel them. And
But you need a name talent if you're gonna sell something for the most part.
sure, and
You're not-
also actors want to be like fed, and they want water, and
In a hotel room.
guys,
Yeah.
you want to eat again?
I know, it's awful. But there's part of me that feels like you should put the money into talent, not into the rest. So when you were doing casting, speaking of that, how did you go about casting?
I hate casting. And so what I should have done was find a local casting director and get them to do that because I was self-financed this. I'm trying to cut every corner I can. I didn't. So I just called up my friends. So we had Sam Damaris and Billy D. Washington, 2 of our leads. We made a TV comedy pilot with them in the last couple of years. So it was easy to get them on board. Sam is a big reason why this is actually getting made because when we were at a film festival, we were dancing with films with our TV pilot Just a Bit. And I was like, fuck, what do I want to do next? And everything that I had that I would have wanted to go with, when I budgeted out, one of the shorts, like just crew costs alone was like $26,000. And that's like everyone working at a favor rate. So it was like, well, not going to spend that right now. So what do I have? And I had this old script and I dusted it up a little bit and sent it to Sam. And he was one of the first people other than you, Adam, that said, oh, this is funny. Yeah, I'd be down. And that's, oh shit. Okay. Well, now I guess I got to do it. And it got the ball rolling. And then, so we had Sam and Billy on board. And then to play the billionaires, Joe Grisafi is a friend of mine. We've made a bunch of movies together. And I was like, oh, you're perfect as like kind of like a asshole white man. It's great. So
So
he's
very Poindexter type.
So he's very typecast.
Yeah.
But he does it well. And I was like, hey, Joe, I put out a backstage casting for it to find this other billionaire. I wanted an older guy. And like most of my submissions, because I was looking for Texas only, like it just, no one really worked. There were a couple where I was like, oh yeah, like I could see that, but it was playing it too young. So it was like more of a Gordon Gekko where I wanted an older, out of touch billionaire. And then I was like, Joe, do you know any older out of touch billionaires? And he said, no. Otherwise he would be making like a feature every month. But he was like, luckily I know an older out of touch actor. So he recommended Rutherford Cravens, who's a Houston local. He's a theater guy, but he's been in a ton of movies. He's been in No Country for Old Men and Get Out. He's been on some legitimate sets that I probably couldn't fucking sweep up on, you know what I mean? And I sent him the script through his agent, and immediately he was like, "Oh, this is great. I want to do it." So I went and met with him, and he seemed cool, and I didn't make him audition or anything. I was just like, "Oh yeah, like you could do it." I kind of feel like when you cast actors, a great amount of the time, you know after the handshake where you're like, "Oh yeah, like this person could work." It's one of those things where it was just like, "Okay, let's take a chance and just see what happens." And luckily he was fucking great.
He was in.
I mean, we could read his credits. He's got a pretty good IMDb. Go look him up. Rutherford Cravens.
Yeah, he's
Great
got
guy.
a lot, which he has way more credits than I expected being local, because even though Houston's a very, very large city,
We are not a film hub.
we are not a film hub. So if you are a talented actor, you're gone.
Yeah.
Austin's 3 hours away.
Right.
And then the next stop's LA or New York.
Right. Luckily, like Houston has a couple like legit theaters, so that's why he's here. So was able to even bring him on board. But it's also one of those things where the part he's playing, it's probably pretty fun to play an asshole, but it's also a little bit of a brave part to play for an actor, because he's essentially saying like horrible things in this movie. He is saying bad shit in a really funny way. So.
Well, I think he said at one point, I've been typecast as a racist in the last 3 films.
I thanked him for being like, thanks for coming and being typecast as a racist. He's, man, that's kind of all I play sometimes.
The very first film I worked on, he was on, and he was playing a meth addict.
When was this? Give it.
It's a movie called.
date time.
It was a movie called Cook County with Anson Mount playing the lead, and it was the very first film I ever got crewed
What
on.
year is this, old man?
I think it's 2008.
Okay.
So
Eddie's the oldest person in
Yes.
this room, and he's lamenting on it.
this is when movies were made on film. but yeah, that was my first exposure to him, and I didn't know anything about working actors in this community or anything. And then over the years,
Was that the last time you worked with him? It was like 2008, and
Yeah.
then now? Oh, wow.
Yeah, I hadn't seen him since the day I showed up on set,
Yeah.
and well, actually at the reading
Yeah.
when we did the reading with him. So it was kind of
Did you know you worked with him before that, or was it when you showed up at the reading and you were like, I recognize him?
I'm not sure how that played out. I might have read his name and said, I know that guy.
Yeah, sure.
Or it might have been literally when I showed up, I'm like, oh, that's who we're cast.
Yeah.
I know him.
Movies are weird like that. You just run into people and you're like, oh.
Well, yeah, and he was playing quite the opposite of what we were doing. That was a drama. I don't think he's played a lot of drug addicts or anything like that other than that movie.
Nah, he doesn't fit the type. If you're playing a meth addict, you got to look.
Well, he was great in it, but I think it was a little against his usual Ray casting where he's yelling bigoted things at black people, I guess. I don't know, but
Is that his part in Ray also?
No, totally. He was also in.
Is he-
What's the?
He was in the Jordan Peele movie.
Yeah.
he's at the auction, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah. So he played. But he also has had. If you're going to play a meth addict, you got to look like one.
yeah, well,
He looks like Colonel Sanders.
I got really curious.
He's gonna listen to this, so I'm sure he'll like that comment. But
Really, he kind of looks the same. And the thing that he's just obviously he's younger because it's 12 years ago or 14 years ago, so it's one of those odd casting things. I guess he's going through stages in his acting career. Maybe before he hit that section of bigoted typecasting, he was doing maybe a druggy alcoholic casting. I don't know.
sure, it's
Yeah.
Texas, so that's the movies that are shot here. There's usually one of those
One
type
day
characters.
one day he'll be the sweet old man at the nursing home. I guess I don't know. Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I liked about just when I researched him, and obviously he has a reel, so I watched his reel, whatever.
He's a great guy.
Great
Really-
dude.
really
But I
is.
like that he was a theater actor, because this piece is basically, it's a negotiation in a room. It's like a It's a one act play, but like very short one. Otherwise, I don't think people would watch it if it was 90 minutes long. I could barely watch it in 9 minutes. But that was one of the things where it's like, oh, this would be good because it is a theater piece, so he can work in that space. And then Sam and Billy, they're working comedians. I think Billy has a little bit more experience with films. I don't know what Sam's involvement was with film other than doing just a bit. But I kind of wanted grounded actors on the other side of the table with comedians on the other side because I felt like that could be a good dynamic to play off each other. And I think it was. It also like fucked continuity a little bit in terms of the editing. But yeah.
We were probably dealing with like 4 different generations of people that had been through entertainment. Because
surely
didn't.
Because Andy Huggins, we also didn't say the full cast. So there's 4 people, 4 main characters, which is Rutherford Cravens, Joe Grassafi play the billionaires, Sam Damaris, Billy Washington play the normal dudes, and we had 2 butlers in the room, which were Ed Warner and also Andy Huggins, who is a original Texas outlaw comic with Sam Kinison and Bill Hicks that worked out of what was the name of the place on West Gray? I moved to Houston 2012, so it was long gone.
Well, I moved here. Yeah, it's gone before I got here too. But he's been on America's Got Talent. He's a very famous comedian.
The Laugh Stop. He was a comedian from The Laugh Stop from back in the day. And I believe we tried to get him in a movie. We tried to get him in Joe Returns a Video years ago, and I think it was a scheduling conflict. But I also heard through the grapevine that he did not want to act in anything anymore. And luckily, because Sam and Billy were in this movie, and also through our other friend Slade Ham, who also produced just a bit, we were able to kind of go to Andy and be like, "Hey, we got this cool thing. Do you want to come on board?" Because he has a totally thankless role as a butler, just standing there. But like he's a funny motherfucker. He stands. He's good at standing.
Funny.
Yeah.
The one thing about it was
you can't teach standing funny.
No, you can't. It's a natural ability. So there were 2 butlers in the movie, though.
Yes, Ed Warner and Andy.
And those 2 roles in the script were actually way more minimal than on camera they portrayed.
Oh, in the original script, there's only the one butler. And eventually when we were doing this, I kind of thought it'd be fun to add another one. And he's got a big moment at the end of the movie that I think was great. And really the only way that came about was when we were crewing up, I went to one of my favorite makeup artists in town, Amori Monet. And her dad is he's really cool.
He is.
He's kind of my style icon, and I'll never be able to pull that off, but he's just like a cool dude. And I was like, oh man, he would actually look great on camera. And then we just wrote in another butler role, and he agreed to do it.
Another guy that had crazy history in entertainment. Because
oh my God, he was like, listen to him tell stories.
A musician, right? Like this is a guy that.
And he managed acts, like he's done a bunch of crazy things. And just I'd be working on the set, and then I'd come in to get a drink or whatever, and I'd hear him tell a story, and I just kind of like, I got to go in and answer questions, but I'm going to hang out here in a minute and just hear the story. I'm kind of jealous of what I missed.
Well, and he brought tequila at the rap party.
Oh my God, like the nice dude. He's also like craft, like cocktail bartender,
a mixologist. I think is what the formal term is.
Sure.
He helped us when we did acid test. We threw this crazy party right before the whole COVID thing happened. We were trying to finish the film, and we did this party where we invited all these people, and he was one of our featured mixologists. So we had him, and he was telling stories, and he's fixing these really fancy drinks. But the guy just has a lot of history. And the thing that cracks me up is we've all here worked with Amori. She's just a super, super talented person.
And she's like fun and nice on set. There are people that are good at their jobs, but Amori is like fun and
good at her job.
If you're on a crappy corporate job and she's there, it's going to be okay because at least she's going to be there.
And it makes the people on camera happier because they get to hang out with a nice person.
But it always cracked me up when Ed would be telling us a story, and he would always kind of talk about her being a little kid. And then she'd get that look on her face. Oh God, stop, Dad! Stop telling these stories. You're embarrassing me.
I think he was telling a story that she was on stage in Central Park singing with like Earth, Wind, and Fire.
That's
or something
amazing.
Like that.
Yeah,
I forget, or maybe was it Parliament?
It was something.
Forget.
It was something like that. It like involved George Clinton, and it's crazy music history. And if you know anything about that kind of music, it's just great to hear somebody give you kind of a firsthand account. And then his daughter's being embarrassed because she's being put up on the spotlight while she's dressing up our talent to go and perform for us. So it's just a lot of crazy, beautiful stuff happening there.
Rob, I wanted to back up to where you had mentioned with continuity issues with having two just
surely. I mean, so
normal guys and then just very, very experienced actors on the other side.
Right.
Can you go into detail a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I kind of wish we had Sam and Billy to talk about this process, because like coming from the world of comedy to going to film, it's like a totally different thing, because you're on stage, you have your routine, maybe you deliver it in the same way, but you could do it different every night and you get spontaneous feedback. Where you're on film, hey man, you come out and do whatever it takes, and then 6 months later you're going to see your work and then you can't change it. When we did Just the Bit, Sam was saying that it was so hard to watch because he can edit his set every night he goes up, but once it's on film, you're
locked
stuck. So like continuity created issues where we have Joe and Rutherford, who are like seasoned trained actors, and they know more about, oh, my hand was here, this, that. And when you're getting takes from Sam and Billy, their body movements were different. And it actually affected how I had to cut the movie. Sometimes for the better. Sometimes where I was like, oh, I was going to do this way and I couldn't because of the body continuity.
Take or something.
And then also there's so many legendary movies that you'll watch and their continuity sucks, but it's if the performance is good, even if the shot's out of focus, look at like movies shot by like A pictures from the 70s. They have close-ups that are out of focus. But the performance is so good sometimes, it's just like, fuck it. That's what it is.
No, I agree. So when you were in pre-pro and you're trying to find the location for a Billionaires.
Oh my God, this fucking sucked. We looked at a million places, and we just couldn't find it. We needed a location that looked like you could bring Putin in and feed him dinner. And there are not that many places in Houston that you could do that. Luckily, we found one and kind of paid dearly for it. But if I just went into a fancy law firm or office and shot this, like it wouldn't work. Maybe it would work if it was like Elon Musk or some tech bro, because like we can find tech bro places in Houston, but I wanted like old money like type thing.
Yeah, old fuck you kind of money. Right?
Yeah.
It's just harder like that because we tear everything down and rebuild so fast.
Right.
Like this
we're in an oil town. There should be more of it, you'd think, with all.
The whole town was built in like the 1890s, so there's no history here. Like we just tear shit down and rebuild new every time. Yeah. But the good thing about the location was the service fee.
Oh, yeah, so this is actually like pro tip, like really read your contracts, guys. So we got this location and we were shooting on and our holding room. It was like average like $1,500 a day, right? And it's, no problem. We have a setup day and 2 shoot days, and we load out. In the contract, I saw there was a service fee, and I figured, service fee for like services. We're getting our water and that type of stuff delivered. But no, it was a service fee for the entire rental, and it was 26%, which is not insignificant when you're paying $1,500 a day. So that was like a really fun thing to get tacked on at the end.
It's like $1,000.
But, yeah, and it was like $2,000. And at some point, like I looked at the budget and I was going to pull the plug a week before shooting just because I was like, this is too much money. And it's one of those things where once you burn enough money, it's all meaningless. So it's whatever. What's another? Sure. Take more.
Well, that's on the big movies. We're on there. Oh, we need the extra Jenny. We need the extra light. They're like, well, fuck, we're in for $1 million. In for a penny, in for a pound. Just keep going until it's done.
Or it's, we're not going to pay for something and then something terrible happens and they'll pay for another day to fix it.
Exactly.
At like 10 times the price.
No, that's...
What are they going to do? Take the footage away from you?
But they didn't.
Yeah, right. Maybe.
We had to fight to get water.
Oh yeah, well the place, I don't know if we want to name the place we went to, but we were renting a very nice place in a very nice hotel, and we're paying quite a lot of money for the rental, and they were setting up a water station for us. And the night before, hey, we're going to be here this time, like we get water at this time, and would show up 3 hours later after we made like 6 phone calls.
Yeah, I went down there personally 2 or 3 times to get the water filled. It was not cool.
And like the people that were like running the show there were like nice, but we probably should have been not so nice and been like, hey, we're paying for this, you can give it to us.
Right.
So shout out to them. They get special thanks in the movie actually. So
yeah, no thank you to the hotel at the end. That would be the last
I actually was wondering if I should even say their name in the credit, but due to the nature of the movie, I don't know if they want to actually be associated with such.
You need to say a special not thanks. So the one thing that we struggled with really hard on this movie
is ideas, talent, fun,
time.
I'm talking for myself, but yeah, time was our biggest struggle for sure. But yeah, like any film.
Oh, I had a lot of time. I spent 4 days in prep.
Yeah.
I was doing art for a week, man. I don't know what you guys struggling for time for. Literally, I started on Tuesday.
Yeah, and
like,
I remember that was it that Friday afternoon we were trying to source that table. So I was on the phone just hammering. Keep in mind it was like Friday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, it's 5 o'clock. Everyone goes home, and then it's the whole weekend.
I
That's
think you gotta set
the equivalence of saying, okay, I'm going to give you 5 days of foreplay and 20 seconds of sex.
Yeah. Well, it's also the thing too, is because we're all obviously working. It's one of those things where we're all working up until we're going to do this.
So I
creative
didn't
thing.
work it all that week. I just want you to know I scheduled myself off because I knew the importance of this film.
Thank you for doing that, because I couldn't do the same.
I booked no jobs that week, unlike the director who booked a job.
Yeah, I got guilted into a job that I shouldn't have took, but like I felt that
Well, you were going to burn money. You needed to make some of it.
That was part of it. Was I need to make some of it back, but I always feel like as a crew person, if you continually tell people no, like when they try to book you, after a few times, they're just going to go with the last person that worked. And these people were like clients that I had. They were one of the first people that employed me since I moved to Houston. So I always feel like I owe them. And I stupidly took a job that deprived me of valuable pre-production. And the movie is probably worse because of it. And I only have to live with that for the rest of my life. So yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Or for the next year, because who cares about fucking short films? There's no venue for them. Film festivals, and then they die.
You basically lost 26%, but because of the service fee, it all kind of balances out.
It sure does. And I talked earlier where I was going to pull the plug on the whole movie a week out, but then I looked at, read your contracts, because then I read my contract, and I saw that if I canceled within 30 days of the booking, I had to pay the full fee.
Yeah.
For the rental.
You're going to take this 20 seconds of sex and you're going to like it. And that's all you're getting, and you better be happy with it.
But it kind of all worked out. We saved on the water that we were missing, and we had tequila.
Exactly.
That's right.
But yeah, so I almost pulled the whole plug, but I was like, if I'm going to spend 25% of my budget, because I was like, I'll pull the plug and I'll do it in December. There'll be more time. Maybe I'll get a grant. But it's like 26% of the budget is not insignificant. If it was like 5%, it's like, whatever, eat it. But we got to a point where it's like, well, fuck, I have to make it.
That was a very long conversation we had. We went back and forth for an hour because there were legitimate reasons to pull the plug and there were legitimate reasons to not to. And I think I had a job that Friday, and it was like we talked at like 7 a.m. on the way to work, and I was on the way to set. And I said, all right. I said, we've discussed it till we're blue in the face. At 3 o'clock when I get done, have an answer.
Yeah.
And we went with it. So
the funny thing is,
there was also suicide. I thought about that too.
as you guys were telling me about this project, I didn't know if I was going to be able to be involved because of other work that I had. When you guys were falling into the pre-production,
It was your dancing career, right? Eddie's a dancer.
I was dying. It was like the worst month of work. So when you started telling me we might have to cancel this, I wasn't necessarily thinking about money. I was more like, shit, I don't have anything to do. Like I really want to be on set. At least I'm doing something because it's been really dead, and I know work is coming. But if we're gonna do something crazy,
now's the time to do it.
This would be the perfect time, because what's gonna happen is they're gonna cancel it, and I'm not gonna be able to work on this fucking thing, and it's gonna suck. So I appreciate
it. Would have sucked worse if you weren't there, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
And you know what? It also stresses how important pre-production is and scheduling, because when I did finally look at like the schedule for the hotel, they have times when the rentals are cheaper during the dead season. And I just wanted to make the movie because I knew I was going to get bored of it and sick of it, and just be like, that's why it hasn't been made since 2009 when it got written, was because it kept getting tossed. Yeah, I'm going to make it. No. So I'm kind of glad that we made it, and now y'all have to live with it. It's your problem.
Well, I want to. You guys put together a good team too, though. I think I think other crew members would share the sentiment that no matter what the challenges were to making that shoot happen, or whatever the challenges were on any given day, because they are long days and the logistics of that hotel was difficult. We were fighting against the clock so much of the time that it was everybody there instantaneously saw what we were working on and the value of it. And the value is comedy. There's not a lot of comedy going on. So
and I feel like it's always a good situation if, when you're the director, if you hire people that are more talented than you can kind of just
they'll make you look good every time. They'll make you look great every time.
So it's a good thing to do.
I want to talk about the elephant in the room.
There's an elephant. We're in a small house.
I know I've put on a little bit of weight.
Yeah.
Thanks, Eddie. I want to talk about the conference table. Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I need to
The
set this
little
up.
elephant in the room. It wasn't big enough.
Yeah, we could've been
we had
doing
to, we
this
had to shoot
podcast
around it.
on
It
that
was not
podcast.
big enough.
I want to set this up right though.
We could be
Because-
at that fucking table right now if you were.
Yeah, I was
if you
gonna
had a
say, are you
bigger,
still
dining
bitter
room.
about that? That we could have been doing this podcast on that table right now?
Fuck! Oh man, I would just want to lay my nude body on that table right now, bro. If we had it here, you'd all. Luckily, too bad it's a podcast, not visual.
Yeah.
This jokes are audio only. Sorry, Mitch Hedberg. Shout out.
That's hilarious.
You could probably do a podcast just on whatever happened to that table.
Oh, I would love to see the security footage. I wonder if the hotel got a ticket because we
you
had
know,
this.
You're
hit
going
up
about, you're
Stephanie. Stephanie
backing it up.
recorded
You got to
us.
back it up. Hold on. Listen, let's start at the beginning of the story. It is a wooden paneled room with wall sconces, and it looks like it's from the 1920s.
Hang on.
It has a fireplace that's marble that goes all the way up to the ceiling. It's like this hotel is.
It was not marble. It was tile. It was.
It looks marble on
It's a
film.
cheap tile, cheap
Whatever.
tile.
Can't tell. The point is that everything in this hotel was tore down except for this one room from the original building. in the 1930s.
It's circa 1910. Whether it was in that building or in another building, they made this 1910 room.
And it looks amazing. And it looks like we needed a table that was representative of a Beauty and the Beast for the shoot. We wanted it to look like a 20-foot cedar that the aristocrats were at one end.
We had 20-foot cedar on an IKEA budget.
We did.
basically.
And we ended up with a 10-foot table. And we ended up with this beautiful 10-foot conference table that we decided we could shoot.
That I wanted originally to be 12 to 14 feet, and I'm kind of glad that didn't happen because
No, we would have had leaves if it had been any longer.
Yeah.
So we ended up buying a piece of furniture that's a 10-foot conference table that did not separate. And the Tech Scout, I don't know who's in charge of Tech Scout, wasn't me, didn't
me.
measure the elevators. And so this conference table wouldn't fit in any of the elevators, and we couldn't take it apart because it's a solid piece of wood. So instead, I did a location scout on the day of. And we have these.
that's when we normally do the location study.
That
You
normally
don't-
is when you-
guys. Hey, pro tip: you do not need to do it before. Just show up on the day and be like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
So
Doing tech scouts before is for cowards.
losers."
I was the one that should have been there helping figure that out, but once again, I didn't know I could be there.
So we go from a loading dock with a conference table that's 10 foot through a kitchen, down a hall.
down. Into
No, we're starting the loading dock.
Yeah,
oh,
but-
we go
but no,
down.
but that's in the
That's right. We
basement,
go in the basement. We had to
Hey
go
guys,
downstairs.
just cue up Goodfellas right now. The Copacabana, that
Yeah.
shot. That's what we did, except we went up flights of stairs.
with a conference table.
With a conference
With a
table.
10-foot.
And there was like
10-foot
7
table.
guys on it at all times, and we were like carrying it through the halls. So fucking stupid. So we shoot the thing. It looks beautiful. It worked out, and then
Not big enough. Was too small a table.
it was too small a table, but we made it work.
Your fault. Not
Not
your
at all.
fault.
$700 is what that table cost. I know that to be true.
And because the ones that were the size I wanted, they were all $2,800 to $3,000 for a table. No one would rent us one. They would only sell us a table.
Yeah, we begged them. We were like, we'd love to rent it and return it, and nobody would do it. And so then at the end of the night, we're trying to figure out what to do with this table. And Rob's, I don't want to take it home. And I was
Yeah,
like,
I made a lot of phone calls. I talked to a lot of our friends that
Everything-
actually have offices and things. Like, hey, you sure you don't want to like spruce up your thing? We're basically just giving this away. Like, just say yes.
Everything involved effort, and I think the best idea was to just throw it in a dumpster like we did. And someone's probably having a banquet on it in an empty lot right now. And
It's a
think of how
landfill.
happy we made them.
You need to hit up Stephanie. Stephanie recorded us from across the street. You
Oh, I
know?
saw that art designer Steph Moret.
Yeah,
She's awesome.
she's just standing out across the street. Maybe she should have been helping us, but she's across the
Make-
street.
make
no,
sure
we
she-
have 8 guys.
Make
doing it.
sure that her check clears.
Oh yeah. She got paid already.
I thought it was kind of funny how it was late night and we were like loading out, and it was totally beer o'clock. And
We had a
were gonna
14-hour day on our last day 'cause we
gonna-
shot for 10 hours
Yeah,
and had
we
to
were
load
gonna
out.
go down the whole labyrinth again, down to the basement, down the lower. You were like, "Fuck that!" So we just went straight up, beelined it through the lobby.
Oh, and when we went
It's
through
a
the lobby,
weekend,
people
so it's a
looked like we
fucking packed
were
lobby.
stealing shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then there's these 8 dudes. Can you imagine this? Carrying this table, and everyone just turns around and stares at us as we just like
It's a film crew, so everyone looks like some degree of a pirate.
exactly.
And then we just basically we just walk out of these double doors before anybody.
Nothing- I'm pretty
sees it.
that was Antifa stealing tables from the, I won't say the name of the hotel. It's definitely part of the conspiracy.
So funny. So
So fuck tables. I'm never making a movie with a fucking table again. Everyone's going to be eating on like a card tray from a Hungry Man dinner like God intended.
So let's talk about some production stuff. Because we shot for 2 days. We had a load-in day. We did a pre-light. And then we shot for 2 days. So we
Shot for 2 days. We had 2 10-hour days of shooting, but we definitely had lots of curveballs through us. The film lives or dies on the schedule. And sometimes things happen that impact the schedule that you have zero control over. One of our actors had a theatrical preview that they didn't tell him that they scheduled, so he had to leave 6 hours into one of our shooting days. And God bless him, he was going to come back and work after, but I didn't want to make him have to work on a film, go do a full theater performance, and then have to come back and work on a movie. That's a lot. So we were able to get him wrapped by that time, but just scheduling people is half the thing. It almost went awry. We did not have enough time with anybody. We needed...
No, and two of our other actors, one had a 40-year or 30-year wedding anniversary one night, and the other one had a comedy show. And had to be, well, two of them
had comedy shows. And really the thing is, originally I knew that going in, and I was like, oh, that's no problem. We just shoot the other end of the table for the other time. But then to complicate things, one of the guys on the other end of the table had something. So it was like, we're shooting close-ups only for the last 4 hours. And whatever, we did it, and we made our days, and the movie exists, and it's fine.
Why did you let any of this happen on your watch, Eddie? I mean, nobody.
Yeah.
I mean, when I came up to you and I just said, "Man, we got to wrap this up." I mean, the cam op, he's got to get out of here. Top Gun starts at 3:15.
Top Gun too.
Yeah.
We all know you weren't seeing Top Gun. You were in fucking DC League of Wonder Pets or Super Pets. All right, I know that's what you
The
were
League
doing.
of Wonder Pants. It's fucking hilarious.
No, when you're dealing with talent like I think honestly those were probably our only real challenges when it came to time.
Yeah.
What-
The
the demand-
venue we basically had from the morning until
Yeah.
midnight. But I also I'm a strong believer. I've been on like many sets where we go deep into OT.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like after 12 hours, the work that you get isn't so good. Yeah, it's like declining, and I kind of wanted to run our sets as a 10-hour day.
Yeah.
People got shit to do outside of work, and you can't really get that done on a 10-hour day because a 10-hour day with a commute is a 12-hour day, and on a 12-hour day it's a 14-hour day, and on a 14-hour day it's a 16-hour day.
Well, and shooting downtown in a building, just the logistics of what comes with that, of how people are showing up to work, how they're eating, how they're leaving, all of that stuff is just always a little bit more on the crew and then a lot of
So
other.
I feel like I really fucked up on that one because when we found that location, we looked at a bunch of buildings that day, and we fell in love with that room.
Sometimes you have to
And-
make those choices. So it's like
and
it becomes
was
like
the
a
worst
table.
load-in.
It was the worst load-in.
but the best look.
It was the best look.
Yeah.
So I still would have done it, but I wish we had gone back and walked that corridor because going through you had to go down an elevator, through a corridor, through a kitchen, up an elevator
Yeah.
to get to the room.
Just don't assume everything. I assumed that was an easy load-in because it was a hotel and they host these events and they load in heavy shit all the time, and it was not as easy as we said. But it's also one of those things like, what are you gonna do?
No, for
It looks
sure.
great on camera.
I mean, it does. It's the best look. And some hotels we go to, it's a great look. I just shot in the Galleria the other day at the Westin. We had to push through the actual mall to get into the location.
Oh,
we were
yeah, I
in.
hate that in the
And I
Galleria.
was
It's
like,
awful.
we're in a mall.
Yeah.
And we're pushing carts through a mall.
Sucks.
To get into a hotel.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely walk the load in on a.
And also, I wanted to just be the director and be like, this is a crew problem. Go
Yeah.
fix it. Because usually I'm on the crew and I got to help fix. But it's fuck these guys. So I was sipping a cocktail. I was eating some chips.
Yeah.
And everyone else was carrying stuff out.
well, money fixes those problems. So,
Yeah.
Well, hey,
yeah,
but
I was gonna ask you then about that. Adam, you had mentioned earlier, hey, only thing that matters is just everything that's in front of the screen, right? Well, I mean, but who pays for that pre-production? How it goes back
Oh,
to
fuck me?
But it goes, what I'm saying is, it goes back to man hours, right? And it goes back down to the bottom line, right? So if we're trying to always be putting everything and all of our effort in front of the screen, because at the end of the day, maybe that's all that matters. Nobody cares that the cam op couldn't make his movie at 3:15.
Fuck Top Gun T. Sorry. I love Tom Cruise and especially Jennifer Connelly, but yeah, sorry.
But how do we account for that? How do we make that happen? We've just been talking about how that's so important and how that screwed us a bit. We made it work just because we're a baller ass team and we're awesome. But it's also, in a certain sense, it didn't have to happen either. So how do we mitigate that?
What specifically are you talking about?
Well, you're talking about we should have walked the load in, right?
oh, it's time versus money.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all it is.
Yeah.
I mean, Rob said multiple times that he's sick of the film.
I fucking hate the movie. I've spent nothing but the last 2 weeks editing it. Luckily it's only 9 minutes long.
So I've listened to some other people talk about they want to be that sick of their movie on the day they get set, because it's been mapped out so far deep down the rabbit hole that literally by the time you get to set, you're almost sick of your own project.
That sounds awful. I would
Yeah.
have a bad time if I was at that, because like it's hard enough to generate the energy to lead the whole circus, you know?
Well,
No,
how,
for
how
sure.
many moments do you feel we had now that you're watching it and you're sick of watching it? Because I know I've seen it a few times just in the
Yeah,
rough
and
cuts.
you guys have seen it. It's a 9.5 minute movie
So-
now, and 8 versions earlier it was like 12 minutes long.
My question to the three of y'all, because all of us have seen it individually multiple times, different cuts. We were all there. We saw the takes. We saw what went into it. We're probably all getting just as sick of it as you have, but not as much as Rob, because Rob is having to cut this, so he's constantly tweaking it. You lose perspective after a while. How much of that, what you captured though, do you feel was spontaneous and happened in the moment when we were attacking it, as opposed to pre-production, as opposed to the inception?
There's a few moments where like actors added in little things that I liked, but for the most part, a lot of the stuff that we made up on the spot actually ended up getting cut out of the movie, because the script was written with a certain cadence, with a certain rhythm, and these added lines that we added in that were little asides that were all funny didn't work because there's a rhythm, and it taught me that I should actually trust my script a little bit more, because I want to be collaborative, and if someone has an idea, it's fuck it. Like, yeah, if it's not good, we just won't do it or won't use it. But if it's great, I'm going to like totally take all of the credit for it. You know what I mean?
Well, I see that with the seasoned working actors, Joe and Ruddy. They've been on a bunch of sets. They've done theater work. They're seasoned to show up and to just be to deliver.
And that's not even talking about their work in porn, which
That's
is
right.
just
But I, as comedians, I'm curious how that felt and how that worked for Sam and for Billy.
we didn't get enough takes from Sam and Billy. We would spend all this time shooting Rutherford and Joe because the bulk of the movie is their pitch. And so for a good portion of it, Sam and Billy are kind of passive. They're just listening to these monologues. So I did not have enough material from them. So that was like my one big regret, is like, oh, I wish we shot with them a little bit more. And the performance we got out of them is great, but I felt like I did them a disservice by not shooting them as much. And of course, you know, in a movie about racism, of course the brothers are going to get the short end of the stick and they get less time on camera. But it was just how it worked out. And I very stupidly, I went in with a bad plan. Sometimes you make a battle plan and like you make the wrong decision and you find out. And my plan was, you know, this is a 9-minute script. Two groups at each end of the table. The smart way for a producer would do it is you shoot out one end of the table and then shoot out the other end of the table. We could have done one day on one end and one day on the other and gotten the work out. But because I was working with some seasoned actors and some less seasoned actors, I was like, I'm going to shoot, I don't know, 2 to 3 pages one direction, shoot the same 2 or 3 pages in the other. That way these guys aren't sitting there off camera saying their lines for so long that it loses all meaning. Because I feel like when I'm editing, I'm either using the first or the second take or the very last take and everything for everything that I've ever done. And I didn't want to lose any of the spontaneity. And that we got less takes because we were doing that way. I specifically pre-lit so that we would be able to move the camera and everything's already lit. So that saved us some time, but it was maybe not the right approach. But what can I do? That was the choice I made, and
Gotta live with it.
gotta live with it.
But the one thing I wish that we had done more of, and again, there was some scheduling issues, but there was a lot of things that, like Sam and Billy not being actors but being comics. So
Yeah.
there's a couple different things. There's a couple different takeaways that I took away from the whole project as a whole.
And also Billy is like a writer and a director in his own right. So that's like another set of things.
Well, it's a whole
that-
other set of challenges.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and I mean, he's a really accomplished. I mean, he's done stuff for BET. He's done a lot of cool stuff. So
Yeah.
he's really good at what he does.
And he's written a script that is fucking fantastic.
The drill
and
bit?
that God, I hope we get to make it.
Yeah, it's
Like,
a great
so
script.
good.
But two things that I wish that we had done differently. And again, I would have.
I think you should have got a different director.
Yeah, that would have been the
better.
first thing I chose. No, because Billy and Sam are stand-up comics and they do get to tweak their act constantly. They are really good at throwing out great ideas, and a lot of those great ideas sound great in the moment, but they also can waste a lot of time.
Yeah,
and they're
and
really good
yeah, for
ideas.
sure.
So we did a rehearsal with everybody on set, and we took some of those ad libs, and then we didn't rehearse the second rewrite of that script. We did it on the day.
We were very pressed for time because these guys are working comedians.
So we were shooting 4 days before.
Yeah, so we're shooting on September 10th and 11th. No one was getting back into town until the 29th or 30th, and people had work. So we had our first rehearsal on the 6th.
Right.
And then from that day, I took the ad libs we got and rewrote the script. And in a perfect world, if time and money were not an issue, we would have had a week of rehearsals where we arrived knowing the script front to back. Our actors, no, not a dig for them, but they didn't know the script as good as they should have, and I didn't know the script as good as I should have, because we should have had a week of rehearsals to really get it. Because there's some points when you're lost in the weeds and you're like, oh fuck, when we shot this for that, what was happening? We're working low budget. We don't have a continuity. We don't have a script supervisor. There's a lot of things that when you're in the weeds, man, you get lucky or you don't.
Well, and I think the rehearsals was my biggest takeaway. Because I've never done Zoom rehearsals. I've done them with you on the Country Boys sausage commercial. We did Zoom rehearsals, but normally
we really needed Zoom rehearsals.
Yeah,
for
I know. That's the worst thing ever. There's no fucking
father and daughter.
Yeah, I mean, I was I hadn't.
That was more Zoom auditions.
Yeah, well, I mean, but to get the 4 characters in a Zoom, and I've never really been a big Zoom person.
I don't like Zoom. You can't be spontaneous. You can't talk over each other. Right now, we're talking all over each other. Does not work on Zoom.
No.
Robert Altman could not make a Zoom movie.
Well, no, and I agree with that. And I think that it's just difficult because of 2 comics are on cruise ships internationally, and then 2 actors that work a lot. It's just the pre-pro on it. We needed a month of rehearsals, not a month, 30 days. We needed a month to plan out 3 different sets because those.
What is great if we were working with a budget and we could have paid everyone to block off time, it would have worked. But working at this level, it's like. We're kind of at the whim.
That's so very key because we had just talked about that earlier while going back to that Facebook post is that, hey, why can't we make a movie on zero? And I think we're exactly talking about that. Why? Because time is money and money is time in this case. Yeah, it'd be great if we had the budget, that money, to be able to just block off everyone's schedule. Hey, I'm literally paying you a salary. You don't have to go do this stand-up right now. Yeah. I mean, unless it's just some sort of career breaking thing for you.
But are you saying that the word isn't a career breaking thing for everyone that's involved?
But you're talking about your.
Well, that's why I'm doing this under my CAMOP pseudonym.
Yeah, right.
And I believe that you're correct in your evaluation of trust the script. But you're dealing with people who are very, very funny improv people.
Yeah, they have good ideas.
And I think all of the ideas that we had at the table were funny.
And one thing that we never discussed when we're talking about the script is one of the caveats with Sam and Billy to come work on it. They were like, yeah, we like the script, but we got to change the ending. Because in the version that we had, and because I'm a very cynical person, and also billionaires seem to have a pretty good track record about getting what the fuck they want, the billionaires fared a little bit better in the end of the original script. And Billy and Sam came on, they were like, fuck this, no, it can't end this way. And we had a meeting where we rehashed out the script and we found an ending that was actually punched it up and made it funnier.
When did Ed come into play? At that point, did you even know you had him to use?
No. I had the idea on that day. It was okay, I'm gonna. What do you guys think if there were 2 butlers of varying different types? And they were into that. They thought it'd be funny. So then I got in touch with Ed. So maybe we knew that we had Ed a month out or 3 weeks out, and it was one of those things where I wasn't sure. So I was like, in the best case scenario, we have 2 butlers for the movie. In the worst case, we just have the one. But having Ed change the movie and gave us a better ending. So I am so happy that he was there because the movie might not work.
But I would argue that's as much as what Adam's saying. I think we all want that time. You do want that rehearsal time. You do want all these refinements, and it's the same thing with all the technical departments. But I still believe in, for lack of a better word, movie magic. Sure. I think that's what ends up happening. And then when you're dealing with talent that are always looking for that live magic, right? That spontaneity, that energy, and they're also feeding off of what they're throwing out. It just becomes a little, kind of nebulous. It's you don't know what's going to happen, so you're also kind of hoping.
You kind of got to trust that.
Yeah,
it always works out.
It's going to happen or it's not.
Yeah,
but you got to kind of leave some things up to the film gods, because think about the great things that happen just purely as chance.
Sure.
Well, without giving anything away, in all of these versions, I had a conversation with Rob earlier in the week about what I thought the elements that I thought were funny in the cut. And it's not necessarily the obvious stuff that I still believe is
Because
funny.
you watched the movie too many times, so you're looking at
Probably,
shit in the background.
but I'm finding all these beautiful little funny things peripherally in the piece, and some of it is just body languages. Some of it is the way we dress a set. Just some of it is just that timing that we're finding now that we're refining the cut. But it's a lot. It's a lot of little things. It's a lot of silent things too. You can have so much in the script and so much on the page, but depending on what lens you're going to fire up, depending on what that's going to be, how that's going to be lit, and then how that actor's going to play against that, suddenly you just have another dimension. And when you're dealing with comedy, it's even another thing, because it's like, it's not just about making it look pretty. Like, how is pretty funny? Because sometimes the way things...
comedy's subjective as fuck.
It is. It
Like,
is.
you
It
know?
is. And then you're dealing with a highly charged racial situation.
Are you talking about me?
Always.
Yeah, no.
You should actually talk more about that. Like how...
Do you want to talk about how I'm going to be eviscerated at Q&As and film festivals across the country?
I'm going to be standing next to you, bro.
Oh, man.
Well, I just want to let everybody know how much fun I had reading these lines to our two comics repeatedly.
Yeah, because we had, in the movie, the word is bleeped, but people still need to say words. So we had to figure out what word people can say. And then when the actors aren't there, Eddie gets to read scripts off camera, and he's got to say words and replacement words. And
yeah. And before you know, it's a strange situation because everybody is fully aware of what it is that you're trying to accomplish on the day. Nobody's...
And like on the call sheet was a link to the script, because there's so many jobs where you'll show up and you have no idea really what you're shooting if you're not like if you're not like one of the keys. And I wanted to make sure that everyone on set knew what they were getting into. That way, luckily I think if you watch the movie, you're like, oh, it's funny. It's made with a good heart. But I also didn't want anyone to feel uncomfortable where it's like, hey,
absolutely,
there's gonna be saying some crazy shit on set.
But just allowing people to participate. Allowing people to participate in the idea of the film is something that only 1% of our shoots even let us know what we're doing.
Oh yeah. What are you guys shooting? Where is it going? I have no idea.
But the situation I ran into that I can't think of ever really falling into this situation again, and I know it never happened before, was we were going to do one take where the word was going to get said. And I brought it. I got the confirmation from Rob, and I was like, okay, well then I need to let the crew know, because
the word will be said and not be bleeped. So
exactly.
Like
I went directly to talent.
Yeah.
And talent.
Yeah. So there's no ambiguity at all.
Well, the thing that cracked me up about talent, because talent didn't understand this either, is they were like, oh, we know, it's fine. We wouldn't be here.
Which talent are you talking about?
I'm talking about Billy and Sam.
Yeah, the two black guys on set. Okay.
And
who were actually okay with the word.
They wanted it said the entire time. Just
they told me they wanted it said the entire time.
But the last thing I want is people be saying that all day, like over and over and over and over and over.
And my answer to that was, well, it's not that I'm not aware that you are not. I know how you feel about this because you're participating. The consideration here is I have to be responsible for the crew.
Yeah, which PA's got to sit there and hear the word.
Yeah, everybody here has to know what we're doing. Even if they said they knew, I need to reinforce that, because the last thing I want is after 1.5 really good days is for someone to all of a sudden say, and then all of a sudden they got weird and I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, right.
And I didn't sign up for this and I didn't understand the context of it.
By the way, it's not a simulated sex scene.
I feel like it's one of those things where they got an intimacy officer. He's the word officer.
No, sure.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to, because you have to also cover your own ass. Yeah. I want to take care of my crew. I want them to feel safe. I want them to feel comfortable. I want us all to have a good time, but I don't want them to think that at the end of the day, it's, we've joked around this really fucking ugly word. Yeah. I mean, that's really what the piece is about. It's not something that you normally can be joking about.
You want to actually know a very funny thing? So there was a guy in New York that I used to rent equipment from, who he made like low budget features, like super nice guy. And I didn't realize how nice he was to me, because I would go rent Super 16 gear from him without insurance. He would just put a hold on my credit card. Like, he eventually trusted me that I wasn't going to fuck his shit up. And if people coming to me to rent equipment, you got to have fucking insurance. I would not do that same deal. Like, this guy was a really nice man to me. Ari Tab, thank you. And one day, like, I'm in a shop. He's, hey man, do you want do you want to maybe work on an Uwe Boll movie? And I was like, I hate Uwe Boll. And he's my friend and I'm producing the movie. And it was like, oh, sorry. And I kind of wish I worked on it because like the Uwe Boll makes horrible shit, but he's kind of really funny. So it might have been a good experience.
Tell me this now. This is my last question for the show. What was your big takeaway from working on the set of The Word?
My big takeaway is that when you get a good group of people to try to do something new, you're going to make it happen. No matter how much money is burning, no matter how much your back is up against the wall, if you get the right group of people together that are all there for the right reasons, which believe in the project. I think we all believe in Rob. We all have a history working with him. We've all worked with each other in some capacity at this point. We all know that our dreams are bigger than just getting a paycheck and just kind of churning out YouTube videos. I hate that shit. We want to make a statement. We want to be involved with art that matters to us, whether it's comedy, whether it's good filmmaking, whether it's whatever. And this is another project that kind of screamed that. So I'm very proud to be involved, and I look forward to other stuff like this.
So, T, you're the cam op, right? Mm-hmm. Rob's man bitch. It's like how I refer to you on set. So, based on...
And I'd be like, T, just reframe like a little bit.
It was like the best static shots you've ever fucking seen.
Yeah.
So
it would drive me crazy to
as the AD,
work as
I
a
would
camera
never
operator.
allow him to call him Rob's bitch, by the way. That's not something anybody's allowed to be called on the set. Never happened on this one.
You know what? T is a gentle lover. And
we
you would
say that.
never...
I mean, these hands are made for loving, not for filmmaking.
Exactly.
So, I only have two questions for you. Okay? One is, what was the takeaway? What was your takeaway from being on set? And what filter were you wearing in front of that glass?
You motherfucker. How did you find out about that? My takeaway is...
Although that was not on T.
Yeah.
That's not his job.
Yeah.
He's there to operate the camera. He's not there to...
Who was the DP again?
I don't know, some fucking guy.
All right, T. Janusz Kaminski, Conrad Hall. Which one? Which one is it?
We should be mad at Sam Mendes for killing
We should
Conrad
tie them
Hall.
together and both give them knives, and then we'll let them fight it out.
Huey Boll, Steven Spielberg.
Uwe Boll's a trained boxer. He would take
Yeah, I was going to say.
Every time.
Anyway, what I got out of that was being able to see the team shine. It was one of those examples where you see an Avengers level team and that synergy that comes up. It was one of those situations where
Hey, T, fix this.
Yeah.
Hey, so and so.
Yeah. It was like
better.
one of those things
The
where
table was Loki.
Yeah.
I just thought it was like 1 + 1 = 7 kind of thing. But it makes no sense like why any of this should work. And it did, and then it worked amazingly on top of that. So, and that's why you work with great people.
And because of the way that you make things, when you're shooting in little chunks, you're just like, I don't know how this I'm just working on the crew. I don't know how this shit all goes together.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that. Whatever.
Yeah, but that's what I was saying was, I as your friend, I know that was a lot of your concerns. Maybe not everyone else can read that, but we work together so much. I know that was a concern for you, but then it was like, we just knew to pick up the slack just almost by instinct. And that's what I was saying, going back to the whole Avengers team thing. You have a good thing going here, man.
Yeah. It got to a point where
let that be our burden. Let us take care of that.
Yeah.
We got to a point in scheduling where on the last day it was like we have 40 minutes to shoot 5 setups, I think, with the talent before they leave. Let's fucking do it.
And we did
And
it.
everyone, we got it done. Like, if you have the right team, they will fucking carry you and make shit work when you're like, hey, guys, we have 2 hours of coverage to shoot and we have 30 minutes. What can we do? And sometimes that you just combine shots or...
We had, I just need to add this to what you're saying, T, because all of you guys, I brought my nephew to intern. He was the young guy on the crew. He was 18 years old. You guys let me bring him on as just a free intern to kind of just throw him to the wolves in the world of PA.
We needed somebody to carry Pelicans.
That's right. We needed someone to help us with that damn table.
Really, the work doesn't get done without people like...
That's right.
Oh, was he that guy that yelled at, hey, who are you? Get the fuck out of here.
Get the fuck out of here.
But he had never been on a film set. And I had told him, okay.
That's funny. You can tell he really had never been on set. I thought he had done a couple things.
He had never been anywhere near a set.
He was a good PA.
And when we got done on that last day, it was a long day. He went home. He was exhausted. And I think there was a moment there where he was like, man, that's a lot of crazy work. I don't really know what we did. I get a rough cut like maybe a day after, and I was like, hey, you got to come check this out. The look on his face when he saw and I'm talking about the very first rough cut, not where the timing is way off.
We wrapped on Sunday, and I had a cut like on Tuesday. or
Yeah,
something
it was
like that.
early.
Yeah.
It was just early, and I was like, "Let me show you this thing," because usually when you're a PA, you never get a rough
Yeah,
cut.
yeah.
You don't know what.
You
what
don't see it ever.
Yeah, you might see it a year later if you're lucky, right? And the look on his face, just looking at this rough cut, to me was like, okay, we're doing the right thing, because all of us, his eyes just lit up, and
Oh, that's what I was like schlepping shit up the stairs
the
for.
joy on his face of what he couldn't believe how good it looked. He couldn't believe that it was going to end like that. He didn't understand the humor, everything. And this is all on the rough cut. This is when the thing is not finished. And I'm looking at his face and I'm like, that's what it's about. That's why I think all of us show up. I think that's why that team exists. I think that's why you make it. You call it like the Avengers. I know that sounds silly, but it really is. It's about that. It's about the ragtag group of people getting together. They're the crazy carnies that nobody understands, and they make this pitch. We're going to do something that you haven't seen before, and I bet you're going to like it. And nobody believes in them. And then you go and you do it, and every time you get away with it, or at least you hope to. But that, to me, was a great payoff, was seeing that.
Just
Can
in
I
case
give my takeaway?
yeah, go for it.
My takeaway is that with this movie, we solved racism. Thanks, guys. It's
Yeah,
all,
that was
it's
exactly
all
what
fixed
we
now.
did.
Everything's cool. America is
gone.
not in shambles. Nothing is fucked. The plane is not crashed into the
Whenever
mountain.
CNN does a spot about this word coming up, they're gonna
Oh, yeah.
they're gonna do inserts of the word.
actually, just try to find
wait,
this thing.
Just wait till Tucker Carlson does a whole bit about the word, and he's like, I don't
Oh
know.
my God.
I don't know why that's so funny. I think it's a good idea.
If we could make
I don't understand
Tucker
why they don't draw the
Carlson
contracts
mad.
up tomorrow. You know,
For sure.
What if anything happens with this movie? If I could just ruin Tucker Carlson's day for just a little, it's 9.5 minutes. If I could ruin his day for 9.5 minutes, that's fucking great. I love it. Fuck you, Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
Seriously, I hope you listen to this. He won't, but fuck him.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the black guy.
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson.
Never mind.
No.
Luckily, we're all up to date on our media.
You can catch it on YouTube, buddy.
Seriously, bro. Come on. None of us have cable. We stream shit.
He's a really funny guy.
I just thought that I remember. I think also like both of y'all separately just like wondering, hey, they'd be like sell out by just like doing all the like corporate work and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like thinking,
Oh, I'm willing to fucking sell out.
but
I will
I'm just
sell
like,
the fuck out.
I'm
Yeah.
just like, but I'm like thinking like, yo, bro, how else did you fund this? I was really reminded. Okay, so I went to
by selling out. That's how we funded this.
yeah,
we
but
make dumb sausage
okay,
commercials.
so let
to
me
fund this.
if you'll humor me with a story. I went with y'all to Dances with Films out in LA, and I was an audience member, and I remember they pulled y'all both up to do the Q&A. And they went to the first person's, hey, we love your movie. How'd you do it? Those softballs kind of questions. And when it came to them, they're like, oh, yeah, I got this AFI grant or whatever. And then they went to the next person. They're like, yeah, there was like this XYZ whatever out there that was funding stuff for
So come to Hollywood,
right?
and-
And then it comes to you fuckers. And they're like, well, hey, we really love your film. There's a lot of production value. I mean, there's great, funny stuff. Like, how did y'all manage to like fund all this? And both you ballers just go, oh, we just bankrolled this. And
we
it
made
just
a,
like
bu-
literally
we made a bunch
I-
of shit for money, and then
and
took that money and made.
and that's what I'm saying. But I can
less
only
shit.
say that as an audience member. I was sitting around. I'm turning around. I'm looking at everybody. Everyone's all aghast. They're like, "What?" It's like, "You can't do that."
The first
And
rule
I'm
of
like,
Hollywood, though, is
"Who
to spend
does
other
that?"
people's money,
Yeah.
and half the
Yeah.
people in that they were LA-based productions, and we're not from LA, and that money is not available in Texas. When people talk about crisis actors and shit, like Alex Jones talking about crisis actors at Sandy Hook, the government in the U.S. does not fund the arts. We show that we do not fund the arts.
This is why but I agree with what you're saying to a degree.
I
because
mean, but
we did corporate videos for profit to fund just a bit, right?
I did it for the glamour. I don't know about you.
Well,
I did it for
let's be clear on that, though.
But no, let me back up.
You guys, we're all working professionals in this industry. All we do is take jobs to pay bills, just like any other craft, just like any other profession. That's what we do. On top of that, if we choose to spend our money pursuing things that we love, then what's
I think the
insane
point
about
is he's
that?
making is different than that. The point he's making is, and we've dealt with this a million times. We have somebody approach us to make an indie project with zero money, and I say, you know what? I think we could do this for $3,000. I'm talking about like we're going to throw gear at it. It's a kind of a cool script, but we're going to need some money. $3,000.
Yeah.
We got to buy lunch. We have to rent this location, and they'll go out on $3,000. And I'll go, well, why don't you work for $300 at Walmart part time on the weekends for 10 weeks to fund your film?
Yeah,
Like, that's
I
literally
had
the work you have to do to fund your $3,000 project, and they will look at us like we're fucking insane.
I had a friend that
Well,
became a
but-
stripper for a summer to fund a
Well,
project,
but-
and they
but-
did, and they shot him 35.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
here's
the
the
one
thing-
That did,
but here's the thing you're missing.
OnlyFans to fund her own documentary.
No, oh yeah, that one. Yeah.
But here's the thing: when Adam saves $300, or Rob's, what we can do with that $300 is more than just spend it. You know what I mean? Like, we know who we can call, whether it's
Right,
if we're
yeah.
dealing with an actor, if we're dealing with the art department, if we're dealing with camera, or if we're really dealing
Yeah, but
with
we're talking about legitimate dollars for
No, no,
dollars.
I am.
The hotel doesn't care whether he pays for it or that person pays for it.
I understand that, but the money that's saved and spent by people that have the know-how is always going to stretch a lot further than the guy that just saved up $30,000. You give any one of us $30,000 for a production, we're going to get more out of it than Joe Blow on the street with $30,000.
Absolutely, for sure.
Because of those resources, because of the know-how, because of the hands-on, because of the favors we can call, because sometimes the favor is just, hey man, you would not believe, but I actually have a little bit of money to get a little bit of crew, not a ton, but this is the project we're doing, and this kind of gets me one step closer to this, and this is what we're talking about.
But that's also deal with our
You know,
education or experience. If
Sure.
Joe Blow filmmaker saves $3,000 10 times and make 10 indie features for $3,000 or shorts, 10 shorts for $3,000 a pop, I guarantee you the first one and the last one are going to be completely different.
Oh, sure. But what's the objective? Is this an ambition of telling a great story? Is this an ambition of being profitable and monetizing, being in the entertainment
No,
industry?
it's about the way that people go about making films. Because a lot of people don't do anything unless they have a grant, as opposed to just going out and getting a job to fund their passion. Anyway, any different than going to night school.
I'm indifferent to that opinion because there's always going to be the artist that just comes from money.
Sure.
And there's always going to be the guy
can't
that
we be
has
those fuckers?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's always going to be. This is one of the dirty secrets in this industry that nobody ever wants to talk about, and I'll probably be the last person to ever say it. I am surprised how many amazing professional people that have done amazing things in this business, and then you find out that they married up. That it was their wife that's.
So I'm shopping if you know anybody.
I mean, the only reason I have
She had a sister.
But a lot of times you find out that they're married to somebody that's very well accomplished, that came from money, that supports what they're doing, and they do okay, but they're not doing as good as you would assume. They're still out there hustling.
If we could find surgeon money, we could make a fucking baller movie.
And I mean, I must say the only reason I have health insurance is because my wife has a straight job.
There you go.
So that I'm alive. Not that I've gone to a doctor in a decade, but
Well, you're not trading those medical videos we keep doing.
Yeah,
for,
I
My
my
sister works for an ad agency, and when I was doing the festival run, I was getting as many free airline tickets as I could from her. And it was just because I was like, well, she's the one that's got them. She's not going to use them. And then she was supporting me. And we go through these things. We're human, right? Everybody has ups and downs. But it goes back to the original thing about saving the money. It's what are you going to do with that money? And what's your objective at the end of the day?
I mean, our point wasn't that. Our point was that to shoot corporate propaganda to fund a passion project, a lot of times is out of people's purview of what they're doing. It's kind of like working.
not everyone's giving blood like Robert Rodriguez and doing
medical experiments.
studies.
Yeah,
Sure, but you can change that out of film into anything. A lot of people say they can't afford a house, and I get that, but if you work part-time every weekend for a couple of years, you have your down payment money. There are certain sacrifices that we make outside of doing this to get where we want to go.
Yeah.
And it's more about if the money's not falling off trees for us.
No.
We have to go out
And
and make
also,
it.
the other question that I ask myself all the time is, why the fuck did I spend money making a short film? Because what do you do with that? There's no venue for that other than festivals.
This is
That's
the
a nice
only
calling card.
This is the only business that literally
That equates to business.
is the definition of insanity.
High fives. I'll give you a high five for that $24,000. Good job, buddy.
Yeah.
Welcome everybody to Fucked Up Filmmaking.
Exactly, and that's why we make this fucking podcast. All right,
spend money before you can make money.
we're gonna
I'll take a shot.
Well, I know we got
$24,000 if
totally
anyone's out
kind of
there.
off track because to finish up my little story, and I remember I was sitting at Dances with Films, and I just remember the shocked look that everybody's face when these ballers right here that I'm sitting in front of just said they bankrolled just a bit.
And the people there did not like our show.
Yeah,
that made me
it was
laugh.
wrong time.
Bankrolling
But
the show isn't like
I
people are rich.
remember I sat there and y'all have no idea. I was so proud of my two friends.
Thank you.
It was just I'm just seeing my friends up there and then just seeing all the crazy commercial
But we didn't
shitstorm that we
bankroll it
do.
because we're rich.
You know,
Well,
and-
yeah, but what I'm saying is also that's why y'all did that.
Yeah, we just went out and did a
see
job and made it
and I
happen.
saw the result of that, like where all of that boring corporate stuff that we do sometimes, it just all came to a head and it all just made sense at that one moment. And just seeing my two friends up on that stage in that full glory, just man, we did this.
And how gloriousness.
They're all experiences. So I want to button this episode up. Like I said, this is our first time guest. Our guest has been Rob Nielsen from Savage Henry Films. Where can they find you at? What are you working on next?
I don't know, man. Hire me. So I need to pay bills for this movie. Someone, anyone, call me.
Yeah, he just wanders around.
What's
the
your
street,
website?
maybe.
Yeah, savagehenryfilms.com. You can watch. There's some stuff on there. A lot of the narrative stuff we've done is all like protected for festivals and shit. So you probably can't see a lot of stuff that we made in the last couple of years. But you know, it's out there.
So just the only people who listen to this right now are Maya and T's mom.
Great. So you know where to find my stuff. Yeah, you can just see anything.
All right, Eddie, what do you work? Where can they find you at?
I don't have a link or a website or anything like that, but
What about
I
Instagram.
I do. Yeah, I do. Right now, we just got locked distribution for Acid Test, so that'll be coming out in October.
And what
So
was your role in that movie?
I was one of the producers, and Jenny Waldo, it was her baby, it was her script. She did a great job, and we had an amazing run.
And it comes out on October 4th on iTunes. So everyone go.
Yes, come
go
on out. So
Buy
look-
or rent your
look
copy.
Look at your streamers. Get on there. I think Apple TV makes the first pre-order option, so just keep an eye out for that. And Rich Kids is still out there if you want to check it out on any of the streamers.
It's on
look it up.
Netflix last I saw.
It was on Netflix. It's no longer on Netflix.
What'd you do in Rich Kids?
I was a producer on that as well. So those are my two past children that are out in the world, and I'm just working on other things. This is kind of a refreshing project because this is a little
Palate cleanser.
Yeah, well, it's going in the comedy. And above all, I think that's the main thing that kind of attracted me to it was I love comedy. I very rarely get to work on it. More and more, especially in what we do, you're seeing less and less of it out there because people are so sensitive. So the idea of getting involved with something that's going to maybe push a little buttons, maybe piss people off, and rattle their cages, to me is important. I think it's important for comedy to be dangerous. I think it's important for us
I
to
mean,
not...
if it doesn't offend someone, it's probably not.
That's
funny,
right. That's
so.
right. You can't be taking ourselves this seriously, and I think we need as much humor in this world as possible. So, anytime I can do that, and anytime I could do it here in Houston, even better.
It was.
All right, well, let's button it out. I want to tell you what my takeaway was. Comedy's fucking hard. Thanks for being on the show, everybody.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.